What is it like seeing your partner with someone else? For many of us, seeing our partner with somebody else is the stuff of our nightmares. Watching as they kiss, touch, and potentially get it on with another person, usually of the opposite sex, is for the majority of people the one thing they are absolutely terrified of. And I include myself in that because when I first started in the swinger lifestyle, I was that person. My name is Rosie Kay, and I'm an open relationship coach and swinger lifestyle expert. And over on my site, ThisKindaGirl.co.uk, I aim to banish the myth and the stigma and the misconception associated with the swinger lifestyle and educate people as to what ethical non-monogamy and swinging is really all about. So, as you can imagine, this video is all about what it is like seeing your partner with somebody else. I'll be talking a little bit about my experience of it, also some of the responses that people get, the negative and the positives, and also some top tips on what to do if you find yourself even in the situation, or perhaps thinking about it, or perhaps you're absolutely against it. But I'm going to give you some top tips on how to navigate the scenario as a whole. So, are most people terrified of it, or are they perhaps open to it? Are there instead some couples who actively enjoy watching their partner with somebody else? And do all couples feel the same about seeing their beloved in the throes of passion with somebody else? Now, as I said, not only am I going to share with you the negatives, I'm also going to talk about some of the positive relationship enriching experience I have experienced, and also some of my coaching clients have experienced as well. So, now, if you've watched my previous video, if you know about me, if you've read my work, you will know that when I first started in the lifestyle, I was extremely hostile. I was defensive. I was frightened. I was scared. I was jealous. I was all those things that a lot of people often are. And one thing I wasn't prepared for, one thing I didn't think would arise was excitement. So I was not, did not think I would feel excited when I saw my partner with another woman. And although I didn't find it an immediate turn on in the traditional sense, the more we experienced it, the more we began to enjoy different aspects of what we were involved in. The more people we met and the more different dynamics from the couples and from people we were exposed to. Eye contact, non-verbal communication, and seduction acts, I'm going to say, all became part of the experience. Now, fast forward the clock a little bit, a few years later, I met somebody who liked to incorporate certain different dynamics, including BDSM, into the swinger lifestyle. And we had a relationship which was ethically non-monogamous, but also had sub-dom dynamics as well. And that opened up a whole new way to play and involve other people without being graphic. Watching him with other people who also practice those dynamics was very satisfying and enjoyable indeed. So sometimes what I'm trying to say is there's lots of different ways that you can practice it. It doesn't mean one person's going to sit there and not be allowed to join in or have to be forced to watch or not be included. There's loads of different ways in which you can get involved. And sometimes there's some very surprising ways. I had no idea about that until I experienced it myself. So sometimes, although we are hostile, although we don't know what to kind of expect and experience, sometimes just taking things really slowly and understanding that there's lots of different ways to get involved and play is one of the most important things that you can do initially. Now, a question I was sent from one of my coaching clients recently was this. Does it mean I'm a cook? A cook, I should say. I received this question recently from one of my clients who asked me, if I go to a club with a woman, and I watch her with another man, does this make me a kook? So before I answer this question, this topic raises a few points. What makes somebody a kook or kookhold? Well, in my experience, and I have done this to several men at their request, of course, them being a kook has simply been incorporated into different ways whilst also enjoying the swinger lifestyle. And them watching me being with other people has featured. But in my experience, it takes a lot more than simply my male partner watching me to suddenly turn them from boyfriend into kook hold. And sometimes it's not about the act itself, but how we as individuals interpret the act that is under the microscope here. If you're not sure what cuckolding is or any of these terms I'm using, then do check out my blog posts I made on Swinger Lifestyle Glossary, where I cover lots of these different terms. I will put a link to that in the description for this video so you don't miss it. And I'm going to make a note to add that whilst I'm recording. So, as I said, it's not the act itself, but how, as individuals, we interpret this to make us feel that is under the microscope. I believe the real crux of this topic stems from the male partner feeling somewhat emasculated by seeing his wife or girlfriend with somebody else and feeling cuckolded without wanting to, which is how he interprets the situation. Does watching your wife with another man make you a cuckold? No, not unless you want it to. This is not something which I kind of had ever interpreted, and it's certainly not something which male partners had kind of come to me and said. But I can see why for some men they would think that, but it takes a lot more and it's a lot more deep rooted than simply watching your wife with another man. But more importantly, it takes a lot more communication from both parties to discuss the dynamics of a cuckolding relationship. So just because you watch your wife with somebody else, or you may enjoy watching her with somebody else, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're definitely one way or another. You know, it doesn't mean that it's definitely you enjoy being cuckolded. It could be that you simply enjoy her, gaining pleasure with somebody else, and that's absolutely fine. Now, negatives. Let's talk about negatives. There are, of course, a few negatives associated with watching your partner with somebody else. And although feeling jealous is a negative, watch my previous video that I made about jealousy and insecurity to understand jealousy. Although feeling jealousy is negative in most people's opinions, jealousy can be understood and rationalized. What I find hard to comprehend is when your basic rules and boundaries are disregarded in front of you and you bear witness to your partner doing something that you both agreed wouldn't happen. Now, the reason I talk about this is because it's one thing which I have had, unfortunately, first-hand experience of, and I don't want anybody, male, female, however you identify, whatever dynamic you are in, to experience what I experienced. I don't want anybody to go through that. So this is why I say it's really important for you to set out your rules and boundaries and have conversation about it first to make sure you're all getting involved in the, you're all following the same script essentially to make sure that nobody does something which they weren't supposed to do or that is potentially detrimental to your relationship. So, moving on, how to prepare yourself for seeing your partner with somebody else. I wish I had this advice when I first started. So, learning how to separate love and sex is actually easier for men than it is for women. If you're not sure how to do this, then do please read my article on how to be a successful swinger couple. I can put the link to that in the description of this video. But separating love and sex is really important. And it's one of the first things that I did when I first started. Understand that you can give consent without the need to be actively participating, and that being present without being involved is perfectly fine. If that's your level of involvement or that's what you want to do, that's absolutely fine. Voyeurism is hugely popular in swinger clubs, and if you're playing in a more public or open space, then understand that you will be watched, or other people may watch your partner as well. Now, for many couples, seeing their partner engaging in a softer play or a soft swap is a huge turn on, especially if it takes them to their limits. And that is such a thrill, and for many people, a turn on. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go the whole hog, you have to completely swap and get naked and do all these things that we kind of imagine it to be like. Sometimes just being intimate to a certain level with people, or engaging with them, or involving ourselves in certain situations is a huge thrill, and that for some people is as far as they ever want to take it. So there's no kind of set where you don't have to do things, you don't have to get involved, you don't have to do things you're not comfortable with. Sometimes flirting and being suggestive with other people, or building that sexual chemistry is something which a lot of couples do, and then they kind of come back together and they kind of talk about it and relive it, and that for them is hugely exciting, and they can do that in a swingers club. Whatever it is that you enjoy is absolutely fine. There's no set way, as long as you are both consenting and it's within your rules and boundaries and you have plenty of communication about it, then for me that is the right answer. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's given you a little bit of insight into what it's like to see your partner with somebody else, and also the realities. If you'd like more information on it, do please check out the blog article that I've written. You can find it in the link below to this video. It's called What's It Like Seeing Your Partner with Somebody Else? And I go into this topic in a lot more detail. Also, check out my other YouTube video, and I shall see you next time, where I'll be deep diving into another swinger lifestyle.